you could just ignore this whole video and just go out and read Gideon the Ninth and understand that this is brilliant. Hello my loves, and thank you for joining me. It's Kirsten and we are doing the mid-year check-in. I really enjoy this tag video. It's one of the few tags that I make sure I do every single year. It's a really fun way to check in with how your reading's going and to reflect back on the first half of the year. With the questions that are in this, like a generalized list of questions that people answer. For me, I've modified it slightly because a couple of questions on the general list I don't answer, like I don't really connect to, so rather than having me go, well I don't know, I've just taken the ones that I do answer, added a couple of my own, and we're just gonna go with it like that. So this is all the books that I have read, enjoyed, things that I've been disappointed by. Let's just get straight into it. Before we do though, let me know, what has been your favourite book of the year? I would like to know that. It's a hard one, I'm not gonna lie. So if you have to put like 3, that's fine. But what are your top reads of the year so far? Starting off with the first one is the amount of books read. So far I have read 60 books with 8 DNFs. Don't count the DNFs as part of the books read. So I've finished 60 books and I've DNF'd 8 books. I'm really happy with that number. DNFing 8 books I feel really happy with because I don't want to be reading books that I'm not enjoying. Like, life's too short for that and I have far too many books on my TBR to waste time with books I'm not enjoying. 60 books is how many that I have finished this year, and I feel like that doesn't feel like loads considering we're in June. The time of me filming this, it is the 8th of June, so it's not too bad having just over 10 books a month. Actually no, that's pretty good then. That's pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. That's actually, I'm very happy with that amount. But the pages read, it breaks down to 22,047 pages read. And the reason why I like to track that is just because some books that I read are massive and some books are tiny, so I find it helpful just to track the pages. Do I actually track it for anything else other than a mid-year check-in and an end-of-year wrap-up? No, I don't compare it to last year. I don't really care. As long as I'm enjoying what I'm reading, I'm not too bothered about the stat. But the one that I always like to put in to hold myself accountable is the amount of books I have hauled this year. So these are books that I have received, bought myself, and that is 73 books, which, considering I've only read 60 books this year, and most of those, well, I would say about half of those are ebooks or library books, which I don't physically own. So it's quite a lot of books to be adding to my TBR. At the same time, about half of that amount has been gifts, has been gift cards, has been thrifted books or books that publishers have sent me. So I've been very lucky this year. Plus, I always find I end up buying a lot more books at the start of the year anyway. In January, I tend to have leftover money from Christmas that I spend on books, and it's also my birthday in May, so I definitely splurge on that. To add to that this year, I also went to a booktuber meetup in March, which was really fun, and we did a bookshop crawl. So of course I was buying books where we went. So, you know, it's a lot, but at the same time, I'm kind of justifying it, but there is no need to justify it. If you enjoy buying books, then you enjoy buying books. Like, it really doesn't matter. So yeah, 73 books hauled this year so far. But let's get into the actual bookish questions. So those are the 3 stats that I track. Let's get into the actual book. So the first one I have is the best book so far. Oh, this was so hard to do. This was really hard. I do keep a running list of top books of the year. So every time I've really enjoyed a book, it ends up going on this list because I do have a spread in here that at the end of the year is my top books of 2024. So I keep that list to see what's on there, what gets changed as we go through the year. I did finally settle on a book which, it was so hard because a lot of these ones I'm going to be mentioning were also a contender for this. But I have settled on a book that made it to my favourite books ever list, which is You Let Me In by Camilla Bruce. I really, really enjoyed this one. I'm pretty sure I read this one in February, I want to say, and I just had such a good time with it. It is a very dark book, so check your trigger warnings, but I just loved everything about this. It was really dark and gothic, and what it was exploring was done really well. So in this, you've kind of got 2 stories side by side. One story is of a young girl who is treated abysmally by her parents, is abused, and then the other story is this little girl who gets tangled up in the Fae, and it's very, very dark, very twisty, and it leaves it up to you which one is real, or like our main character character says, why can't both be true? It is a really good book. It's very hard hitting, definitely one I want to reread and annotate. I really enjoyed it. It kind of blew me away as to how much I enjoyed this and how it now sits on my favorite books of all time list. It was so good. The next question was also really hard because it's the best sequel I've read this year, and the problem that I've got is I have read 1, 2, 3, 4 sequels this year, unless of course we do count the Miss Marple series, because I've read books. I mean, technically they're all standalones, but they're part of the Miss Marple overall series, in which case it puts it up to 6. That's it. That's all the sequels I have read this year. It's really not many. I definitely need to work on that. I decided to go, there was one book I was really tempted to go with, but I've also tried not duplicating my answers on here. So I decided, surprisingly, to go with the manga, and that is Promised Neverland Volume 4. I really enjoyed this volume. It got me so enraptured in this manga series. Again, like, manga is something I don't read often. It's something that I find really easy and fun to pick up and put down to break up what I'm reading every so often, but you know, it's not one that I gravitate towards all the time. However, when I read this volume, it reminded me how much I love this series, how entertaining I find it, how gripping, and how much I really want to carry on with the series. I loved it. It was so good. It brought me straight back into the world and into the grip of it, and I was enjoying it so much. So Promised Neverland, for those of you that don't know, is a manga series where we're following this group of orphaned children at this orphanage, and everything seems absolutely beautiful and lovely. They are tested on a daily basis to see how smart they are, but other than that, you know, they have freedom, they get to run around and play, and it just seems absolutely beautiful, which of course is too good to be true, and they find out the very dark, sinister truth behind this orphanage. And I love it. I think it's really good. It is dark, but I really enjoyed it, and this one was just so heartbreaking, but it was so well done, and it, like I say, it just got me so invested into this series all over again, so I definitely want to continue on with that. The next question is the biggest disappointment, and I know I'm going to upset a few people with this one, and it was kind of hard because I have had a few DNFs this year, so I could have gone with one of those, but yes, the biggest disappointment for me, The Will of the Many by James Islington. I know so many people love this book, and I can understand why, because it is, I mean, it's well done. I think it's very slow. I don't like the main character, but I can understand what James Islington is trying to do, and lots of people are like, oh, it's so dark, it's so good, like, it's about this person trying to take down things from the inside. This is not a new concept. This concept has been done time and time again within fantasy, and in my opinion, there are just books that do it better. Controversial opinion, loads of people are going crazy about this one, and I think that's why I was so disappointed, because the hype put it up like, oh, this is going to be a new favourite, and instead it's like, it's not bad, but it was nowhere near as good as it was made out to be, and it was very disappointing. Like, it definitely could have pushed further into things. It just could have done so much more, and the character could have been so much stronger, but it felt like our character was just being pushed pillar to post and had no real decisions of their own. And yes, the way this all worked with the giving will to those above you, the fact that it has a lot to talk about hierarchies like that, the pyramid structure, all of these things are very valid points that you can definitely pull into today's society and the way we structure things. I think it's also based on like Roman Empire and stuff, but there are other books that make these same critiques about society but do it in a way that I prefer, that go that bit further, that really push the boundaries. For me, it was okay. I'm still deciding if I'm going to pick up the second book. I just feel like it wasn't as gripping as I thought it would be, and I know lots of people get really hyped on the twist that happens at the end, but I saw it coming from a mile off and I was like, well, yeah, was that it? Like, and I feel really bad because I know so many people have loved it. I just didn't. Like, it was fine. That was it. And I'm kind of bummed that I bought the hardback because hardbacks are so freaking expensive, but that's that one. Don't hate me for that. Okay, the next question is a book that's made me cry. Now, I used to cry really easily at books. I say that, but actually I get very emotional with books. Yes. Actually crying, slightly different story, but one that genuinely got to me. Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. I was not prepared. Nobody prepared me for this ending. Oh my god, it was brilliant, fantastic. This is also a book that's a contender for my favourite book of the year because I thought it was brilliant. I loved it. It was so good. And this one was also a contender for favourite sequel because I'm currently in the middle of reading Harrow the Ninth. Like, I've got 40 pages left of that book and I love it. It is so good, and honestly it would be the best sequel I've read this year because I think it is phenomenal. But like I say, I didn't want to double up too much on the same prompts, but it was so good. It was brilliant, and I will say it every single time. If you are like me and you've been put off this book because you've been told it's confusing, give it a try regardless. It is complex. There are lots of things going on, but it's so good and it's so worth it. And Harrow is a bit more complex, and definitely I can understand why people go, that's definitely a what the hell was going on book. I kind of worked out what was going on, and so for me I didn't find it confusing. I thought it made perfect sense. I just thought it was so expertly written. The way Tamsin Muir has done it, chef's kiss. Absolutely amazing. Like, I honestly, if I could put Gideon the Ninth, Harrow the Ninth, Tamsin, but for all of the answers apart from most disappointing, I would, because it's so true. Like, I've loved this so much. It's definitely one of my favourite books of the year. It's going to be in my top books of 2024. Harrow the Ninth is probably my favourite sequel that I've read this year, but again, I wanted to spread the love around. Yeah, it's so good. It's so good, and it did make me cry. Like, it was brilliant. It so much. Oh, I should probably talk about what it is. So, this is a sci-fi book, and the tagline for it is lesbian necromancers in space, which is phenomenal. But we are following Gideon, and Gideon is from the 9th planet, and she has been desperately trying to escape this planet ever since she was a small child, and she's never succeeded. And right at the start we meet her where she's trying to escape yet again, and Harrow, the princess of the 9th, stops her and goes, "No, you're not escaping. Instead, you're going to be my bodyguard to this tournament that's going on where representatives from each of the planets have to go to the first planet, and it's kind of like this tournament, but they don't know what's going on. They don't know what the rules are. They don't actually know what they're trying to achieve. They've just got to try and work it out themselves. And each planet specializes in necromancy in a different way." I loved it. I love Gideon. She is so sarky and amazing, and I loved it. This was so good, and I'm so pleased I finally read it. Definitely going to be a series that I'm binging this year. Definitely going to be a top favourite. You could just ignore this whole video and just go out and read Gideon the Ninth and understand that this is brilliant, and I love everything about it. But if you'd like to carry on, let's move on to the next question. So the next question is a book that made me happy. So again, I'm going to keep saying this, but Gideon the Ninth made me happy. I found it really entertaining and funny, and I did laugh at places. But another book that I did find that made me very happy, and I had so much fun reading it, The Marlowe Murder Club by Robert Thorogood. I read this on my Kindle and desperately want a physical copy of this book. I loved it. It is one of my all-time favourites, cozy murder mysteries. So again, this book is going to be on my top books of 2024. I don't think anything's really going to knock it out of place. It's so good. It was so much fun. I had such a good time with this book. It was just so entertaining. So we're following a few different perspectives, but the first person you meet is Judith, and she is an elderly widow. She lives on her own, and she likes to go swimming in the Thames nude at night because it keeps her young. And she creates crossword puzzles. But one night when she is swimming nude in the Thames, she hears a gunshot. Automatically she's like, oh God, what's happened? What's happened to my neighbour? She calls the police, but the police don't really believe her. So she's like, all right, fine. I'm going to just have to do this all by myself. She goes out swimming again. She then finds the dead body, rings the police back and is like, I bloody told you so. And they're like, okay, yeah, fair enough. Okay, fine, we'll now look into it. Oh no, suicide. And she's like, hell no, it's not suicide. I'm gonna have to do everything myself. And so Judith steamrolls in, does her own investigation, pulls other people along with her. It is so much fun, it's so entertaining, and I cannot wait to read the rest of the books in this series. If you like The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman, give this one a read. It is so good. It reminded me a little bit of that, but it stood up really well on its own. Cannot wait to read more, and I honestly think if I had read the sequel, which I own, Death Comes to Marlowe, I 100% could have put this one in for my favourite sequel as well this year. I just haven't got around to reading it yet. But again, this is another one where this book could stand in for a lot of answers. Like, I've just had some really good books this year. Okay, the next one is the most beautiful book I have bought, and honestly I've been really lucky because I've pre-ordered quite a lot of things, so I've had some really nice editions come in. I've had lots of gifts that have been gorgeous, but one whose cover I initially didn't like when I saw it online, but in person I freaking adore it, and that is Fruit of the Dead by Rachel Lyon. This is a book I've spoken about Oh, in so many videos, you're probably sick of hearing it, but I cannot wait to read this. It is so pretty. I love this cover. Like, just look how gorgeous. It reminds me of a painting. Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure this is an actual painting that's been put onto the cover, but I love it and I'm so excited to read it. This is a contemporary retelling of Persephone and Demeter. Hades is present, but he is not the focus of this book, but it is a contemporary, and so they're not called Persephone, Hades and Demeter. They have different names, but the story is what is being told, except Hades is this pharmaceutical tycoon, Persephone is this young girl who's only just turned like 18, I think it is, and she doesn't know what she wants to do with her life, but she's very caught up in what Hades is saying and doing. And then you have Demeter, who is obviously Persephone's mother, who is distraught and goes out to find her daughter because she knows that her daughter is in trouble and she will do everything she can to save her. I can't wait to read this book. I think it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. I really want to read it soon, so hopefully you're going to be seeing this in yet another video in my July TBR. This is such a beautiful cover. I wish there was more underneath, like they could have done stuff on the end papers and stuff at the same time. I just love the art so much that I'm fine with it the way it is. Like, I do really love it. I just think it's gorgeous. But that one is one that I can't put for any other question on here because I've not read it, but I'm sure if I love it as much as I think I'm going to, it could definitely get a spot on my top books for 2024. Moving on, we have a new favorite author, and this is one that I don't know. I've got a couple of answers here and I'm just going to go through the books I've already said. Camilla Bruce, I really want to read the rest of their works. I've got one saved on my Kindle, which is, I think it's The Witch in the Well. Really want to read it. Loved Camilla Bruce's writing. Tamsin love this author, love their writing. I'm eating up the series. I think it's fantastic. Will 100% get whatever they next write after the Locked Tomb series is done because I think they're phenomenal. As well as Robert Thorogood, like I really loved their writing in this and would happily pick up whatever else they write. So yeah, love this as well. So it's really hard for me to narrow that one down, so I'm just going to go with all of those because I just think I've been really lucky that these are three authors that I've not read from before and have loved, and I've instantly skyrocketed to the top of my favourite book, authors I want to read more of. It's been great. Okay, then we have favourite character. Again, this is another hard one because I could have easily put Gideon and Harrow. I do like Harrow as well, but I could easily put Gideon. I could have put Judith from Death Comes to Marlowe. Instead, I have gone with, to again spread the love around a little bit, gone with Veronica Speedwell from the Veronica Speedwell series. So I've read a couple of books from the Veronica Speedwell series. That puts up continuing series to 7. I forgot about that. But I have been slowly reading the Veronica Speedwell series. I've read the first 2 books. Really want to read the 3rd one. I haven't had a chance for the last couple of months, which is really upsetting. Hopefully in July I can carry on. I really enjoyed this series. It's historical fiction murder mystery series that is just so much fun. It is for fans of Stalking Jack the Ripper, Anatomy a Love Story. You're gonna love it. If you like those sort of books, you're gonna love this. And Veronica Speedwell is such a good character. She is so forward thinking. She is so brash and bold and ready to take what she wants, and I love her as a character. Like, I instantly fell in love, and the dynamic she has with Stoker, who is the side character. He's a main character but you never get his perspective, so he's the side character. The way they interact with one another, their slow burn romance is brilliant to see. I love the way they interact with each other like that, and I really enjoyed it. It was so good. And Dana Rainbourne is another author that I want to read more books of. I have actually been gifted Killers of a Certain Age. Thank you so much to Uniquely DJ for this. I really want to read more of, again, whatever Dana Rainbourne puts out. I think the Veronica Speedwell series is like, I want to say 13 books. That might be wrong though. It's a long series, and then we have this, which is kind of like a cozy thriller, which I'm very much looking forward to. So again, it's another author that I very much want to read more books from. But yeah, I really enjoy this series. It's so much fun. It ticks all the boxes for me, so I love it. I love characters like Veronica. Also, if you like Natural History of Dragons, again, you'll probably like Veronica. And then the final one that I added on for this year is a surprising book, the most surprising book of the year. And I have to admit, I mean, again, that could go to Gideon the Ninth. I need to stop going on about Gideon the Ninth, but it could go to Gideon the Ninth because I did put that book off for ages because I thought it'd be so confusing, and obviously ended up loving it. But the one I've chosen Is Empire of the Vampire by J. Kristoff. Look at it. Look how many tabs are there. I adored this so much. Again, this could be one of my top books. It's going to be in my top books of 2024. So it could have been one of my favourite books of the year. I also love the character, so it could have been a new favourite character. Not a new favourite author. I will give you that now, because J. Kristoff, I tried his Nevernight series, really didn't get on with it. I'm kind of tempted to reread it. I think if I find them secondhand, I will pick up the books and give them a read. But I loved this. This was so good, and I cannot wait for the second book to come out in paperback so I can read it, because I had such a good time with this. So this one, I would say, if you like Name of the Wind, but you want it with vampires, yes. It kind of gives me that sort of vibe. So we're following our main character, Gabriel, and Gabriel is a silver saint. So he is half vampire, half human, and he is tasked with killing vampires. Except currently, he is sitting in a dungeon and he's telling this vampire his story, but he's telling it in his way. So it's broken up into time jumps. So sometimes you'll see perspectives of Gabriel when he's very young and growing up and finding out about being a silver saint and his training. And then you get time jumps, which is a lot sooner, as what's led up to him being in prison. And I love it. I love the time jumps. I think they're perfectly timed as well, so that some of those longer scenes, which can get a little bit boring if they're dragged out for too long, like the training, is broken up perfectly by then jumping forward in time to something that's happened a lot sooner. And I love it. It's so good. I'm loving the twists and turns. It's also a book that almost made me cry, so it definitely almost got on there for that. Like, it's so good. I was really put off because I didn't think I liked J. Kristoff's writing. God, I wish I didn't wait this long. I wish I'd got it in hardback so that I could get the second one in hardback so I could read it straight away, because it's so good. I love it. And honestly, the annotations, I had such a good time. I had so many annotations. There was so much going on. I'm just going to quickly go through them because why not? I've got quotes that I love. I've got an annotation for religion, an annotation for addiction, got despair and melancholy, and then also women in society. There is just so many themes in this, and that is something I have come to learn about myself, is I'm a thematic tabber. So I like tabbing particular themes in books. So I always have the same tab of quotes that I love, and then the rest of the tabs will always change because what I'm tabbing is the themes that are being explored within a story. And I just feel like J. Kristoff did such a good job with this, and the satisfaction I get from seeing this amount of tabs is just gorgeous. I love it so much. So yeah, I've had one heck of a good reading year. I'm not gonna lie. Apart from the disappointment of The Will of the Many, the rest of these books have all been books that could fulfill so many of these questions. The fact that we are halfway through the year and I have had this many new favourite books has been phenomenal, and I love that for me. I'm having such a good time with it. 100% jumped because my door buzzed and I was not expecting anything, so I've got no idea what I was talking about. Pretty sure I was just talking about the fact that I've had such an amazing reading year. I've been so lucky. Please let me know if you've read any of these books, what you thought of any of these books. Are any of these some of your favourites, and what has been your favourite? Maybe just take a question from the list that I said and answer it in the comments below. That would be really, really fun. That's it for this video. I love doing these sort of videos. It's really nice to check in and see what I've been doing and to realise how good a reading year I've actually had. It's been phenomenal. So if you've made it this far, what do we put? Oh, I feel like there's that emoji with like the to-do list thing. If not, then just put a pen, because I mean I do like to use my journal, and we're going through answering lists of questions. That's what we're going to put. If you made it this far, you just don't know what you want to comment, you can do like the little to-do list or a pen or something like that. And thank you genuinely so much for watching. I really appreciate each and every single one of you that takes the time to watch these videos, to comment, to interact. Like, it's just been amazing. I love the community that we're growing on here. It means so much to me. So thank you so much. But I am going to leave it there. So if you have enjoyed this video, then please do consider giving it that thumbs up, subscribing and commenting. Those 3 things really help this channel out, so thank you. My social media links, anyone I've mentioned, will be linked below for you, and I will of course catch you in the very next video.